Alright guys, welcome to the second video in a so far 2-video series. In this video we will cover the main functions of the new 2017 Arbor scripts. Subsequent videos may delve into more of the other functions. For instance, there's functions on adding work types, there's functions on adding contacts, that sort of thing. But for now, let's focus on the main functions, the data farming functions. If you haven't already done so, please go and watch the first video in this series on downloading the scripts from the Data Hub. It's very important that these files are downloaded to a specific location, especially the mailer folder, the templates folder that includes the mailers. If those folders are not in the correct locations, your scripts will not function properly. So please watch the first video and make yourself comfortable with how to set up the scripts to begin with. So let's get into it. The first step really is to, of course, download your scripts, put them in the right location, and then fire up your GIS and your Arbor and place them in the correct configuration. In GIS, we'll start there. Make sure you have all of your parcel data, your pole data, your line data all loaded up, and the styles applied, your style files. Make sure that the data appears correctly and there's no obvious issues with it. There shouldn't be. The Arbor program needs to be set up in a specific way as well. You need to have some rows ready to go in your Arbor grid with of course blank rows ready to accept information. Those rows also need to be numbered. You'll see why that's important shortly. So make sure you've got your contact number field filled in and you've got some blank rows ready to go. Don't worry about these threes, that's just holdover from some testing I did. Also, your grid needs to be in the edit status on position, otherwise obviously you won't be able to input data. And you need to also make sure that your columns are set up the way my columns are. So if you need to hit the pause button on this video and toggle between the video and your Arbor to make sure you have the right columns, make sure to do that. The most critical columns are from contact to follow-up. So any columns in between this range here will be critical to be in the correct order. Note that I have two address fields here. I have an address and I have a city, which is just a placeholder for address 2. So the reason I have the two address fields, some of the old Arbor configurations just had one, is because of the mailer. House addresses typically have two lines to them. You have your house number, your house road, your street name, and then you have your city state zip on the second line. So it's critical to have two address fields. If you forget how to add columns in, it's easy. All you do is right click somewhere on this header row, select column chooser. This little dialog pops up here, and you click and drag the missing column to the place where you want it. So I'm just dragging here, and you just hover over the location. This works well if you accidentally delete a column. We've had a couple instances of that happening over the past year where columns have gotten deleted, and fortunately the information's still there. It's just a matter of showing the column. Alright, so our edit status is on. We've got some blank rows ready to go. It's important that we scroll down a little bit. We don't want to be doing any clicking after we're in the middle of the farming, because the clicking will advance the script in ways that you don't necessarily want to. So we're ready to go here. Let's go back to GIS and start with the farming. So the first thing to note is we're going to use the identify tool. This function is just in the same way it always has, using the F6 key. But before we even get into the F6 key, we want to make sure that our identify tool is selected. Your toolbars might look different than mine. That's okay. These toolbars are highly customizable, and I can tell you though that the identify tool is a default tool on one of the toolbars, so it should be showing up somewhere on yours, unless you've accidentally removed that particular toolbar. But of course, you can get back to the toolbars by right-clicking somewhere in the gray here, and then selecting the proper toolbar. So if you've used this feature before, likely it's already set up properly, but as you can see here, once I actually use the tool, incidentally I'm going to be clicked on my parcel layer. I want that to be live, otherwise I won't be able to select anything. So I'm on my parcel layer. This is the Mineral County parcel layer, West Virginia, and I'm going to actually click on one of the parcels, and this box pops up, and this box is critical because this is where the actual script farms the data from. If this box doesn't pop up, you'll probably see something like this box over here, and my computer's running a little bit slow here, so it might be a smaller version. You might see something like this. If this box is not checked right here, this auto open form, when you click on these parcels, it's not going to open up that box that you need. See that? It's showing it over here, but we need to actually open up that form. So so make sure that this box here is checked. Make sure that this mode is set to current layer. It's a drop-down box. Make sure it's current layer, and then select auto open form. Once you select it, it should stay that way until you change it again. But you can actually close this. Box after you've selected auto open form. As you can see here, I can still. There we go. Computer's not cooperating. So once it's checked, it remembers that it's checked, and it'll open up the form properly. So let's do the actual script here. It's the F6 key. For those of you that are used to the scripts, that's the same key that it always has been. And you want to make sure that a couple things. You want to make sure that your layer is selected. You want to make sure that the pencil is selected so that we're live here. The layer is in edit mode. And you want to make sure that the cursor is on the top row of the data. If it isn't on the top row, you need to make it, click so that it actually is on the top row. The script is going to farm and utilize these first 7 rows of data. And I will add that there's some additional data on some of the parcel data. Different jurisdictions have different fields available. Some have premise addresses, some don't. So I included these fields at the end of the list so that the data is still available, but it's not actually going to be part of the script. It just is the way it worked out. So it still is here if you need to copy paste some information or look up an additional name. Sometimes there's some useful information, but for now we want to be on the top row. Alright, and sorry guys if I'm going into too much detail. I want to make sure I cover some of the particulars of the feature attributes, and just make sure you guys are understanding everything about the tool before getting into it, because you'll run into issues otherwise and probably won't understand what's going on. So that's why I do what I do. Let's go ahead and hit the F6 key, and that's going to actually farm the data. You'll see it copy pasting. I don't want to click anything. I want to let the computer do the work. So I'm going to hit F6. What I need to actually have the script running. How about that? When you click on the icon for the first time, again, the first video covers how to set this up and give yourself a shortcut and so forth. You might see something about a window pop up about running a program for the first time. That happens anytime you download a program from the internet. If you don't want to see that box every time you start the script, make sure you toggle that little checkbox. I believe it's in the bottom left. I've already loaded mine on and ran it a couple times, so that's why it didn't pop up for me. But just a word of warning to you on that. So now that my script is running, you saw the splash screen come up. Now we're good to go, and I'm going to make sure I'm on the first row here, and I'm going to hit the F6 key. See the script copy paste the information, and it automatically kicks me back over to my Arborline data grid. Excuse me. So the script will actually wait indefinitely until I click the left mouse button, and the reason that that's built that way is that the computer wants you to tell it where to put the data. And we want to start by putting the data in the name field. That's always our first click, and the second we click, no matter where we click on here, that's why it's important to position the window in the correct place ahead of time, because the second we click, if we need to click on the up arrow or the down arrow, it's going to start pasting data in areas we don't want to paste. So we're going to paste it into the name column, and you'll see it run across, pasting the information it got from GIS. It's going to check the follow-up column, It's going to set this zone to 3 and put a placeholder in the phone column. Please get that phone number as you work through the notification process. We need that for the records. And then it will backtrack and grab the contact number from the contact number column and use that to place it back into GIS. And this will happen fairly quickly. You know, if you don't really see it doing all the work, that's okay. I figured it was better to have the script run a little quicker than you see every little thing, since you'll be farming a lot of properties. So again, it's still waiting for us. The second we click, though, it's going to run through to completion. So we'll go ahead and click right now with the left mouse button. Just click right here in the field. Skip the line intentionally there. It's the name and address, placeholders. Check the follow-up, grab the contact number, back to GIS, paste the arbor line number, and sets the status to 5. Okay, so if you remember the style, I'm going to go ahead and click on the computer's running a little bit slow here, sorry. Got a lot of things running. Alright, so the status 5, if you remember from the style on all the parcel data, is going to be follow-up. That colors the parcel orange. And if I cancel the selection here, there we go, you can see that it labeled the parcel automatically and colored the parcel as a follow-up property. So if I actually go back to my identify tool and click on the property itself, then I can see that the arbor line number is present and the status is 5. And of course, all this is editable after the fact. After the script is done, you can change this. If you talk to the person, get a permission, you can go ahead and just change this to status 6. Nothing fancy there, just works the way it always has. So so that's how that works. And without making this video too long, I'll go into the mailer feature real quick here. The mailer feature is an option if you run across a parcel that is a potential letter. I usually take a look at the feature attributes once I click the identify tool, and I'll look at the featured attributes. If I see an address that's different from where the location where I'm located, so if I'm seeing an address that's Erie, Pennsylvania, and I'm in Ridgely, West Virginia, then I'm gonna go ahead and farm this data into my mailer list as well. And you can always delete those names out of the mailer list if you end up talking to them in the course of your notifications. But for now, I'll go ahead and just paste it in there since it's automatic and it's easy. And the way you do that, this is a new feature, so pay attention. The way you do that is you toggle the numlock key on your computer keyboard. So that's the top. It's the third key from the right on the very top right of your keyboard. It says numlock. It also says scroll lock underneath. But you toggle that function by hitting the button one time, and you'll see on the bottom left of your actual computer case where the lights are, the blinking lights, you'll see a little light up. It looks like a box, almost looks like a suitcase or something with a number 1 on it. You'll see that light come on, and that tells you that your numlock is on. And with the numlock actually on, that tells the computer that you're actually wanting to fill out the mailer information as well as the arbor line information. So you'll see that work. It'll open the list automatically. You don't have to click on Excel or anything. It'll look for that file in the prescribed location. Again, watch video 1 if you haven't already for that location. So let's go ahead and do it. Again, we're on the 3rd line, so we want to be in the 1st line. Everything still applies. We want to make sure we're on the right layer. We've got our feature attributes box pulled up here. We're on the correct line, and we're in edit status mode on. So we'll toggle the numlock. The numlock is on. You can't see it, but trust me, it is. And we'll hit the F6 key. And you'll see that this actually functions. Just make sure we're still running here. Having some issues. Come on. You want to make sure that you're on the first row of the attribute box here. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. I'm not sure what's going on here. I'll be right back. Come on. Alright, so we finally got everything under control here, I think, maybe. The video feature really taxes the computer, unfortunately. Alright, so we'll hit the F6 key. Again, we have the num lock on, so this is the mailer modified version of the F6. So we'll hit F6. You'll see it work in much the same way. It's going to wait for us to paste. Again, click one time to paste and then wait for it. So I'm not doing anything here, even though it looks like I am. Those polls will grab with a separate function, by the way. So it's going to put the arbor line number in the arbor line box, change the status to 5, and it's going to open up Excel automatically. I didn't click on anything. It's opening up the letter recipients, and got to offer a shout out to Dale Hetrick for setting up this particular system, the mailer system. This works rather well. Also, Tim Shriver and Jason Lamb for providing me with this particular these particular documents. Originally Dale created them, but Tim and Jason and some others have been using them for a while now to help them out with their mailings, make it a quicker process. So we'll cover some of that in a subsequent video as well, but for now let's just demonstrate the actual data farming aspect of it. So this is going to be blank. If you've just downloaded this file, you might have a yellow strip up in the top of the window here that says enable saving, something to that effect, and you might have to actually cancel out of your script. Probably should have mentioned this to begin with, because the first time you open that file, it's going to be in read-only mode, and you need to actually click on enable saving, and then hit the save button up here so that the file will then be ready to accept edits. That's only just the first time after you download it off the Smartsheet. So if you do that, you'll have to redo the script, redo your arbor line information. Again, I'm not clicking on anything, even though it looks like him, by the way, guys. If I click right now, see the script is waiting for me, and it's going to paste that information. So I already did the enable saving previous to the video, so it's ready to go ahead and accept my first contact. So just like the arbor line, I want to click on owner, and it's going to go ahead and paste that information, including the name, addresses. This is why it's important to have 2 address columns in arbor line, by the way, and then the arbor line number. So I'll go ahead and do that now. There it is. It saves the document, and it just leaves it open for you to save future information. It did save it as well, so you don't need to worry about saving it. And also, I might add that your num lock was toggled off automatically, so that you don't forget that it's on. If you look back at the light, it is off now automatically. So that's kind of a cool feature. And that's the mailer function. So I'll do it one more time. Click on a parcel here. We'll say that this is Erie, Pennsylvania. We'll pretend that it's not Ridgely, West Virginia, because this person probably lives on site. And my computer is hanging up again. There we go. So I'm going to toggle num lock. I'm going to hit the F6 key. It's going to farm the data. Arbor line first. Skip over the polls. Again, that's a separate function. We'll get to that in a moment. And it's going to kick us back to our mailer. And I don't want to click on arbor line number. It's going to be tempting because that's the first column here. I want to click on the owner. Again, it's very important that you do things in the right sequence, otherwise computers are not real smart that way. They need things just right every time, otherwise they won't work. So there you go. Now you got 3 automatically farmed parcels. You didn't have to type a thing, and you've also got 2 mailer contacts as well that you can then later on go back, and incidentally the script is now done. Every time you do one of those properties, it ends the script and you have to hit F6 for a subsequent property. But say I get a hold of Mr. Markwood, I guess is his name. If I get a hold of him, all I do is just click on the row and then right click and just click on delete, and then he goes away. And then later on you can generate your actual letter based on this information, which we'll go over that in a subsequent video. So that's the F6 command. I'm tempted to end the video here and do a separate video for the F7 command. In fact, I think I'm going to do that. I've had some issues with the videos going a little bit long, and when they go long, the computer starts glitching a little bit on me. Hope you found this video useful. We'll do a subsequent video for the F7 command and call it good. So hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next video.